as our role continues to evolve here for us as the CEDA. And from the vision,
Hello,
Mr. Hill Lewis, it's Tanya. How are you?
I'm finding you, Tanya.
I'm good, thank you.
Are we start? What is I presume is there a hold up at Chief Whip's Forum?
No, we're starting at 12:30.
Oh, we're only starting at 12:30.
Yes,
Is that why?
yes, yes.
Ah,
All
okay.
right. Okay.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right. All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Secretary. Good morning. Good afternoon. Sorry.
Good afternoon, Marsha.
Dumelara. Dumela Ntate Kaso.
Hello.
We just wanted to check the sound, Mr. Kaso, for the FCC. That is why I needed somebody just to say something.
All right. Can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yes, you are clear. That is okay. I think the final control is also receiving you. That's fine. We will be crossing. We're starting at 12:30 on the dot.
We're starting at 12:30 in terms of the notice.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Sieva.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Tate Louis. Bye.
Good afternoon, honorable members. We just are waiting on the deputy speaker who will be chairing
He's
this.
here.
Oh, he's here. Thank you. Welcome, guest.
Yes. Kwena ufufesi tsatsing lena mme. Kwena ufufesi.
Tanzania ki pusha ki papatanya.
Yeah, ska etsa pela rona assembly.
Deputy Speaker, good day.
Good day, Honorable Singh. Good day, honorable members, and welcome.
Thank you. I thought you had the EFF Deputy Speaker when I looked at the red only.
I thought you were there before them, so you should know better.
yeah.
Okay.
Good day, Deputy Speaker. Are you a victim of the step aside? I see you jump to the EFF now.
No ways. Honorable members, let's start. I'm just give me a second. I'm just tracing my the propaganda here quickly. I'll be with you.
In the meantime, we'll ask the staff to just display the agenda.
Yes, please let them do so. Honorable members, let's go through the agenda having been placed before us. Can we just indicate whether there is anybody who wants to provide any indication whether we agree with it as it is? If we agree, let's proceed. Let's proceed. Let's get any apologies that members would like to give us.
Deputy Speaker, we have received an apology from Mr. Makwanisha of the ANC.
Okay, all right. Well, I
Deputy
guess so we should start with the speaker and indicate that she's not well. So this is why I have stepped in her place, as is the duty of those of us in these positions. Any other apology we should note?
Deputy Speaker, can you kindly note the apologies of Honorable Numalo, the other member who's on the oversight visit?
Oh, okay, all right. All right, we'll note those apologies. There seems to be none. Let's go.
Honorable Speaker, please note the apology of Honorable Deputy Chief Whip of the ANC. She has been admitted to hospital this morning. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Let's wish her well. Thank you very much. Let's wish her well. Hope she recovers quickly. Yeah. There be no other indication of an apology. Let's consider the draft agenda. Are members okay with it as it is?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the
Yes.
thank you. That's any seconder?
Seconded, Deputy Speaker, Chief
Thank
Whip of
you.
the Matter.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip. Seconds. So we proceed to consider the draft minutes as of 9 March. Let's look at them. Please mount them there. Any corrections? Let's proceed to the next page. Next page. All right, yeah. Next page. Any next page? No corrections. Next page. Final page. Yes. There seems to be no corrections suggesting they are a correct record of our meeting. Let's get a mover.
I will move, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The Chief Whip moves. Any seconder?
Honorable
Second,
Kula, I second, Deputy Chair.
Honorable. I didn't hear.
Honorable Kula, I second, Deputy Speaker.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me correct my initials. Let me draw the attention of those who write these minutes to go back to the source of the incorrect initials that they give me every time, that my initials are SL, please. Can you do that for me, please?
Deputy Speaker, it shall be done, sir, and our profuse apologies. Deputy Speaker, we just want to
Okay,
get the
sir.
name of, we want to get the name of the member who seconded.
Is Honorable Kula,
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, please.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So that having been seconded, let's any matters arising.
Deputy Speaker, there would be no matters arising, sir, because unless members have other matters, because all these issues were the report of the subcommittee,
Yes.
and they have since been reported to the House. Those that had to go to the House, the report of the Rules Committee was adopted by the House, and the last item, which was monitoring of replies to questions, has been referred to the subcommittee on the review of rules. Thank you, sir.
Okay. You see, what you are saying is and constitutes a matter arising. It's an important one. So, and this is why I guess you put it on the agenda. So we agree that that's the situation. Okay, thank you very much. Let's move to the next item on the agenda, the composition. Let's talk to that item. Who leads the composition there?
Mr. Speaker, I might just start just to give the context, and then maybe the party that raised a matter could then come in, just to indicate that in terms of the rules on the removal of office bearers, in terms of section 194, the rule says that the committee consists of the number of members that the Speaker may determine, subject to provisions of Rule 154. So the composition of this committee has been given to the Speaker to determine. The Speaker did that, and on the 7th of April, the membership of this committee was published. It consisted of 26 members, with 11 voting members and 15 non-voting members. Subsequent to that, there was a letter effectively objecting to the composition of the committee coming from the UDM, which proposed, among other things, a weighted system, but the UDM would speak to that, a weighted system. Now, after considering the contents of the letter, the Speaker then decided that the matter must serve before this committee for input, which will then enable the Speaker to make the final determination on the matter. And the membership that was decided at the time was basically based on precedent, or in terms of the Section 25 committee, where you have voting members and non-voting members. Ordinarily, committees follow what was agreed to by the Rules Committee on the 5th of June 2019, where you have 11 members on a committee. And not all parties are represented, but the smaller parties come together and they decide who should sit on that committee. So that is the context why we're here, Deputy Speaker. And I understand that Honorable Nkwangwa is here to maybe state the point, and then the committee could then discuss as you guide. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. I see Honorable Singh, Honorable Mazoni already with their hands up. Yes.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Just as part of the...
But perhaps before you do that, let's as Ndade Khaso said, ask whether Honorable Kwangwa is here to raise the matter that he raised, and then you can then come in.
Deputy Speaker, why I wanted to come in now is as part of the context. I think Honorable Khaso omitted to indicate that I had written to the Speaker as well on behalf of the 10 parties, inquiring what the position would be, and the Speaker had responded. And after that, the UDM took up this letter. So there was that initial letter to the Speaker. Thank you.
Oh, okay. In other words, Ndade Khaso summed it up and omitted that important step that came from you on behalf of the collective of parties. Okay. No, we take that into the context that you correctly point out. Thank you very much. Yeah, that helps. Is he here? UDM?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. speaking that. Do you want to
Indeed.
briefly speak?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed, Deputy Speaker, I was delegated by my party leader to speak on his behalf in this meeting, and thank you very much for hosting us. The issue for us really has to do with the system of voting that is being followed, especially in portfolio committees, rather not in portfolio committees, I beg your pardon, in committees such as ad hoc committees, which deal with generally with the matters of national importance. And our feeling was that the current system, where we have used it in the past, I remember we also used it in the Gandla Committee of Inquiry. We used it in other ad hoc committees that were inquiring into different matters in Parliament, where instead of allowing all members of Parliament or parties that are actually there in the committee to have their voting right, to say that only 2 of the smaller parties must have a voting right in that committee. Our concern is that the current practice then continues to treat us like straw maces, like we're bridesmaids in a parliamentary process, because for us, the portfolio committee system is the first decision-making process. Like, for example, we understand that the matter, after having considered by committee report, would then be considered as well by the plenary. But we want to be able to make our voices heard in terms of being able to vote in the committee system itself before the matter goes to the plenary. Because you remember, constituencies and members of the public consider all the documents and the reports that come out of Parliament. Now, our proposal is that instead of allowing 2 parties to have a proxy on our behalf when we represent different constituencies, perhaps for ad hoc committees and not portfolio committees, we should consider a weighted voting system, which will not distort the outcome of the voting process once it is applied to an ad hoc committee, not necessarily portfolio committees are fine, we understand the system, but to ad hoc committees. And we wanted to propose that specifically for this ad hoc committee, which we have established to inquire into the fitness of the public protector to hold office.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yes. All right. We hear that. Let's see. Let's hear if you are done, Ndati Kwangwa.
Yes. I'm done, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's hear Honorable Singh, and then Honorable Mazzoni, and then Honorable Sheikh Imam, and then Honorable Majudina. In that order, please, members.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and thank you to Honorable Kwankwa for raising this. And like I indicated earlier, there was an exchange of correspondence with the Honorable Speaker on the 17th, 25th, and 31st of March regarding this particular issue on behalf of the other parties. And we noted what the Speaker had said at that time on the 31st of March about voting, and forwarded that correspondence to all the parties. Now, Deputy Speaker, we've had this discussion before, as Honorable Kwankwa says, when it came to the ad hoc committee on Nkandla, SABC, etc., etc. And he's quite correct that, 2 of the 10 parties, sort of have to vote, and the others don't have an opportunity to vote in the committee. I know the last time we had the discussion, some members indicated that, well, the other parties have an opportunity to vote in the House. But Honorable Kwankwa is saying we should vote in the committee. And we did moot the idea of weighted voting, but that was not acceptable at that time. In terms of this particular matter, I mean, it's common cause that even amongst the 10 parties, there may not be agreement on the way forward and then whether we adopt a report or not, because that was made clear when we voted for the committee to be established, where we had different parties expressing different views. So I think here it's going to be difficult, and if there's a weighted vote, I mean, we will support that, because it's not going to take away anything from any party, but it's going to give those parties that are in Parliament the right to be able to vote right from the committee level into the chamber where the matter will be finally debated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Mazzoni.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and good morning to all my colleagues. Deputy Speaker, I have gone through the rules of Parliament, both past and present. I've also gone through the guidelines, and I have gone through every document I could get my hands on regarding precedents, regarding the way we vote in Parliament and the way we would establish a committee. Now, I think we all need to understand that this committee is, of course, groundbreaking, and it's the first committee of its kind that has been established. And that is why the Rules Committee specifically drafted rules to establish a committee that could begin an impeachment process. And I think that that in itself, we need to understand, carries its own set of not dilemmas, but challenges as we move along. But here's the crux of the matter, Speaker. If all parties were given the same voting rights, then there would be no reason to have a governing party. There would be no reason to have an official opposition. All parties would have the same voice, that they would be able to be heard in Parliament. And that is the reason why parties such as the Democratic Alliance and such as the African National Congress actually give up so much of our speaking time to ensure that multi-party democracy is adhered to, because we are all of the belief that a multi-party democracy, I mean, there's no way, if we followed the guidelines strictly, it would mean a one-member party would have 3.5 seconds in which to give their speech, for example. And we don't do that. We give up our speaking time to ensure that other parties are represented. Now, I happen to think that the Speaker has done this in a very fair manner. And you will notice that parties have non-voting members. For example, the DA has 2 voting members and we have 1 non-voting member. But that does not mean that that one non-voting member will not have the opportunity to voice his opinion and to voice the opinion of the Democratic Alliance. And I have checked with the National Assembly table, and certainly all parties, even if they are non-voting members, have the opportunity to have their voice heard and have the opportunity to debate and to sway other members if that be the case, and certainly to have their voice heard and to make known their opinion of those that they represent. But I think that it's completely unfair on parties who have worked very hard to obtain the percentages that they have obtained in the National Assembly to be expected to then have exactly the same voting rights as parties who have minusculely small voting percentages in comparison. So, Deputy Speaker, I think that we've gone above and beyond in our role of making sure that multi-party democracy stands firm. I think every party in Parliament will have the opportunity to debate and to make their voices heard. But I think that the way the voting weighting is done is correct. The larger parties will have a larger say because that is what the electorate chose. And we must always respect the will of the people. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I'm attending 2 meetings at the same time, and I'm about to speak on the other side, but I'm going to be very quick. I want to, at the very beginning, say I support Honorable Kwankwa with his arguments. It's not necessarily only about the way that people vote, but let us be mindful of the fact that people vote and gave us a voice. So we too, as smaller parties, need to be able to participate in a manner that will be free, fair, and transparent. Now, taking a matter of this nature, and I must admit that when this matter came up, I'm one of the first ones that wrote to Honorable Singh, addressing my concerns about how the composition of this particular committee is going to be done. Because the important thing is here, Deputy Speaker, that we all are different parties. We have the mandate of our own parties. We have different vision, to be honest with you. And so I think it is very important that while you talk about a proportional representation, we don't have a problem with that. What we have a problem with is that some of us have to depend on a larger of the smaller political parties to represent us, but we have our own mandate. They all have their own mandates from their own political parties. And that's the problem that we have. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Let's, Honorable Majodina, please let me allow Honorable Hanif Hendricks before you. He's got a bigger caucus than yours. Hanif, Honorable Hendricks. Unmute, honorable member. Honorable Hendrikse, unmute. Okay, he will have to come after you now, unfortunately. Yeah. I wanted to give him an advantage to speak before the chief whip in the house. Let's give you Honorable Machodina, Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and to my colleagues, all members of Parliament, and to the parliamentary staff. Deputy Speaker, having listened and read the submission from UDM, I wish to point out that, Chair, whilst we appreciate a multi-party democracy, but also the strength of parties also speak here. One, owing to the nature of the representation of 14 parties, this Rules Committee of National Assembly on the 5th, I think, of 5th of June 2019, we adopted the rules that were establishing committees, and those rules has said each committee should have 11 members, and it gave the numbers and the names of the parties, how these committees are going to be established. Secondly, the current rules of the National Assembly does not provide for a weighted system, and therefore there's nothing different from this committee compared to other committees that have been established. And as the ANC, we are standing firm at the moment to say, let's continue with the 11 members as per our rules. These parties that are making presentation now, they were part of the Rules Committee when we adopted this rule. And we further said, this was approved as an order by the Assembly for the duration of 6th Parliament. And they were there. So I see no point, Chair, of trying to argue, but also the tone of the letter, of the letter from General, it is not where we get accused as big parties that we are arrogant. We are not arrogant, but the voters have given us the mandate of the percentage that we have, and we are trying by all means
Can't hear you, Chief Whip. Maybe switch off your camera.
Chief Whip, if you can hear Honorable Singh, it might be that where you are, the reception is not great as we hear now. Yeah. Go ahead, Chief Whip. Let's complete your message. Okay, we will reconnect with the chief. Are you able to reconnect, Chief Whip?
I have reconnected. I don't know where have you lost me?
We didn't hear your concluding remarks. Please make them.
My concluding remarks was that the tone of the submission of the letter from the leader of UDM was very much unfortunate. Yes. When you look at items number 7 of that submission, where we should feel pity that we are big parties, and therefore we get accused of not promoting multi-party democracy. And I'm saying we've been very much flexible in accommodating other parties. But when we have agreed and adopted the rules, we must abide by the rules. The rules are saying we have adopted this establishment of committee for the duration of the 6th term. And I was saying these parties were part of that meeting on the 5th of June 2019. And I said that.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I civil, civil. Okay. Let's give Honorable Hanif. Are you able to join, Hanif?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Go ahead, Honorable Member. Yes.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, we heard that the ANC is standing firm because they have a mandate. You can't use that because after getting the mandate, lots of things have happened. We had a Zondo Commission and many smaller parties, especially, we represent communities. On the matter of the public protector, it is very important that these communities be able to show through their representative how they feel about the attempts to remove the public protector. Because it is in these communities that the public protector may have made a significant contribution and they want to show their support for her. So if we are not going to be allowed to show our support, our intention, then at least there must be a provision that it is stated while the smaller parties are not counted in the vote. It is noted, for example, that they support the removal or they don't support the removal. That may be a way forward, but I don't think that it is in the interest of the Constitution and multi-party democracy that the ANC use the fact that they've got a mandate. Yes, they've got a mandate, but 2 years into the 6th Parliament, a lot has happened. And that mandate has been considerably diluted if we see what is happening over the last 2-3 weeks. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Right. Let me give a
point of order.
Yes, what's the point of order? Can we have
the point of order is to Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Hendricks must talk on the matter on the agenda and not to start attacking us here.
Okay, Honorable Chief Whip. Okay. If that's the point of order, let's proceed. Yeah. Okay. Let me. Thank you very much. Let me invite the EFF. Honorable Kwankwa, I've seen you with your hands up if you wanted to come back, but let me give parties that has not spoken yet.
No, thank you very much, Chair, in terms of this. So look, I think at all times, the speaking minutes and the committee representation and participation in Parliament must always reflect the outcomes of elections. I don't think we must compromise on that. So we for instance, wouldn't agree that we have the same amount of speaking time and the same number of committee members with parties that have got 1 or 2 people in Parliament. It doesn't reflect the spirit of democracy. That is one. But I think one issue that you might need to listen to is to then group 4 political parties and say, you've got 1 vote. What mechanism is used to determine that vote then? So you must have to think in terms of that to say that the 5 of you have got 1 vote and they've got irreconcilable differences in politics altogether. I think that has to be looked into. But to the extent maybe of considering that if you are going to give 1 political party 1 vote, then the proportionality should apply to then the other parties that have got higher representation in the committees, so that the proportionality is not affected by granting each political party 1 vote. But the issue of giving 5 political parties 1 vote, it doesn't make sense. There's no mechanism to even how do you cast that vote if they've got differences. It's one issue that must be looked into differently.
Okay. All right, thanks. Honorable Mulder?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. I hear what the colleagues are saying, but I think if we talk about a weighted vote, then we should be implementing that in the correct fashion, which would simply mean whatever method we use, then the ANC should have 57.5% of the vote in this committee, because that was the election result. That's how it works. You have to consider the election results at the last election until the next election. That's how it works. It doesn't change. So if we go with a weighted vote, obviously the ANC will have a clear majority right from the beginning, and it's irrelevant what the other parties will have in that sense. I think the ANC has come a long way in terms of accommodating also the views of other parties. That's why in a committee of 11, they still maintain, and they have to have a majority. They are the ruling party, they're the majority party, and they've got 6 out of 11. And then the question is, how do we distribute the rest in terms of being fair, in terms of what is reasonable and what is possible in Parliament? And the current situation is that all parties are represented in these committees. All parties have the equal rights in terms of participation, in terms of speaking time, in terms of asking questions, etc. But there is a problem when we come to the vote. However, the actual final decisions are taken in the House, and in the House, those votes are absolutely weighted in terms of the result of the election. That's why the ANC's got 230 votes in the House. So I understand what my colleagues are saying, and I understand the whole situation, but I think if we are fair to one another, then the current proposal is a fair proposal, and I would support the current proposal in terms of how it's structured. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Manda. Let me give Honorable Mainali Soma, and then I'll close by asking Honorable Kwankwa to have a word. He seems to want back. Honorable Shivambo and Honorable Melda, please lower your hands now that you have spoken. Honorable Maina.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. In adding, probably the Chief Whip of the ANC, she didn't cover this one. I wanted to raise the point that says that in a committee, we have agreed how we allocate seats, but it is going to be very misleading when members, when they argue their issue by backdoor to review the rules through backdoor, and create an impression that they're not allowed to vote. In plenary, they vote as individual members. And also we even gave them more additional minutes for them to have their declarations. And honestly, I think probably we must stick to the rules. And if somebody wants the rules to be amended, they must make a proper, direct application, not to be selective. That's all I wanted to say, because yeah, let me just stop there for now. Thank you very much. As ANC, I support and reaffirm what has been said by the Chief Whip of the majority party. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Honorable Kwankwa?
Well, I wish, Speaker, the tone to some respect had been more respectful to this issue. It's unfortunate we're not going to be told about how to make our proposals as a part to whether the front door, the back door, will make that very. The second, Deputy Speaker, for me, a weighted voting system means that if I cast my vote there, it's not more than the 1% of the election, of the electorate in terms of the votes that I hold. It's weighted in terms of what? It carries the weight of your electoral mandate, which is your percentage. So if you are 57 point that's what your vote carries there. If I'm 0.5%, me casting that ballot means my vote carries 0.5% of the vote, not half or 100% of the vote. That would be distorting the electoral outcome, right? But we're saying we need to consider this as a solution, because if voting is not an issue for other parties, why don't they just don't give up voting then? In the portfolio is the final decision-making body of Parliament, right? We must not trivialize it because it affects smaller parties. The matter of us being accommodated, right? Being accommodated in the process of Parliament, which is the committee, to be able to vote as and when we choose to do so. That's the point. And the modalities of how we make that possible should be in a form that does not distort the outcome of the elections. Hence, we are saying a weighted voting system, rather than saying, obviously, if I'm in that committee, my vote cannot carry the same weight as the ANC's one or the EFF's one, right? It doesn't matter how minuscule our constituencies or the people who voted for their support, their South Africans, they voted for us, they sent us to parliament to carry their mandates and to do exactly because they happen to be 80 and they sent us to parliament. The issue here that is accommodated, it's a matter of right. It's a matter of right. And if we're talking about a multi-party democracy, it's not for us, depending on the paternalistic concern of some of the big parties will say, we've accommodated you. We have a right to vote there. And how parliament makes that possible is up to parliament. They can consider different options. But as members of parliament who are legitimately in parliament, we have a right to vote and to participate in the decision-making process of parliament. And it's as simple as that. We made the request politely. Yes, the tone of the letter, please don't cut me, Deputy Speaker. Yes, the tone of the letter, I cannot account for the tone of the letter as the general writing to another general. I accept that. Maybe we could have been more persuasive in how we put it. It's a general writing to another general. So I'm not I'm not a retired army general. Maybe the speaker was not offended, that's how they speak, but the issue is we would like a situation where at least options are considered. Look, for an example, Honorable Floyd Shivambu has made an example to say the current 5 parties represented by one person is unworkable, right? So he's coming up with a proposal to say we need to consider other issues to accommodate us. Come up with proposals maybe and consider options. Thank you.
Okay, Ndati. Thank you very much. Honorable members, I've given you an opportunity to express your views, and unfortunately, Honorable Kwankwa, you have not persuaded members of the Rules Committee, and but there are an indication that there may well be a case at a later stage, perhaps, to review the rules, as you are suggesting, perhaps certain options be taken. But it's very clear that the request for us to do this now has not won the day, if I may put it that way. But it's not for me to make that decision. As you know, the Speaker referred this to the Rules Committee to discuss, so that when she makes a determination, she has an understanding of the view of the Rules Committee. So, honorable members, that's where we will leave this matter to convey the substance of this meeting to the Speaker, so that she determines her view, which she will communicate to all parties, having given us as the Rules Committee an opportunity to reflect on it. I'd like to thank you. Honorable or rather Ndate Khaso, do you have any, there's a matter on the agenda which is called the Chief Whip's report. The Chief Whip's forum's concerns is on disorder in plenaries. Let's move to that item. Let's hear the what?
Chief Whip will lead the item, sir.
Okay, yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker and honorable members.
Honorable Kwankwa, lower your hand, please.
I wanted to know if I can be excused, Speaker, from the meeting. I didn't.
Oh, no, it's okay. If you are unable to stay, it's okay that you are excused. Fine.
Thank you kindly, sir.
Chief Whip.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker and honorable members. Deputy Speaker, on the 10th of March, during the Chief Whip's Forum, members raised concerns regarding the following issues: that there are derogatory statements or remarks that get made by members in the House about other members and to members of the executive, and the physical confrontation that occurred in the House. And the Chief Whip's Forum furthermore said that we felt that at some point presiding officers when they don't allow point of orders by members, that goes to an extent of creating chaos in the House. And therefore, we are making an appeal here to presiding officers that if members want to raise a point of order, let them not be suppressed, let the point of order be heard, and presiding officers rule accordingly. In summing up this discussion, we have agreed on the following. Members should respect the decorum of the House, because we have observed that there is undermining of the decorum of the House by some members. Two, presiding officers must allow point of orders and rule accordingly. We know that the presiding officers are supposed to preside over matters, but we're just appealing that if they are not taking those point of orders, people end up being chaotic. Three, during the heated discussions in the House, let the chief whips and senior whips be allowed to deal with the matters with a view of restoring order amongst our own members. The rules must apply across the board and should not be applied selectively. Anyone who's out of order must be ruled out of order. Anyone who's supposed to be thrown out of the House, that must happen without any favor. So we felt that this matter must be brought to this forum, so that when we start this second term, at least on your capacity as presiding officers, you must alert members that we do have hybrid session rules. We have that we have adopted as early as April 2020, and they are still intact, and they must be applied across the board. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. Is anybody who wants to comment on the report? I guess the Chief Whip was representing the forum. Okay. If there's no other additions, I can assure you, Chief Whip, on behalf of the rest of the whips in the forum, that we will do as you suggest. We always try our best as presiding officers to act fairly, without bias, and that we will do it with the greatest of pleasure to those who are disorderly, and that the language we use to be specific should particularly be of great concern to us. We are a public institution. The members that we represent expect us to be respectful in how we deal with each other, because any other treatment will suggest that this is how we'll also deal with the public's affairs. So let us be respectful, including in the correspondence that you referred to earlier on. I think it doesn't behove us well when we are pleading to have certain things done, even if we are feeling strong about those matters, to use unbecoming language or language that simply immediately adds to a hostile reception of the correspondence itself. Of course, we can overcome that. It's not a major thing, but it doesn't do anybody a favor to use such language in public and in private. Let's be adult about these things. Thank you very much, honorable members. We will convey the decision of the Rules Committee today to the Speaker, and thank you very much for being here. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
short meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Let's keep our meeting as short as this, yeah, including tomorrow morning.
Please.
And
Yes,
including
please.
tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Let's return to a meeting of programming taking 30 minutes, you know.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.